What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense. A couple of old friends who grew up together in Pennsylvania. Now we live on opposite sides of the country. So, this is our chance to get together once a week to discuss the latest in politics, sports, movies, and TV. I'm Eric Messersmith in the Los Angeles area. That handsome fella over there is Brian Johnson in suburban Washington, D.C. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's that boring time of year after the NBA finals and the NHL. The NFL hasn't started. There's no news. There's nothing to talk about. We're going to have to really struggle.
I
We're
know.
really going to struggle to find newsworthy topics to discuss.
I feel like we make a version of that joke at the start of every show,
We
but it's
do.
because it feels right, Brian. It just feels real. And last week we talked about that, and I predicted that America would join the fight, that we
hmm
would use our bunker buster bombs. We did, in fact, do that, and now it looks like the whole thing's over. Donald
Yeah.
Trump on a Truth Social post a few hours ago said, "Congratulations to everyone. It's been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now." He goes on to say that both sides will be able to kind of finish up the missions they're already using, which Israel's going to use that time to just bomb the shit out of Tehran. And then he concludes by saying, we should we should call this the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. This is the interesting part. He concluded with, God bless Israel, God bless Iran, God bless the Middle East, God bless the United States of America, and God bless the world. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. He certainly has a flair for the dramatic. Those are a bunch of different gods there with Iran, the United States, and Israel. Three
Hmm.
three different gods. But God bless Iran, which I thought
Wait,
was interesting after we
I
just
don't
blew
think
them
it's three
off.
different gods, are they? It's two.
Well, it's two and a half. I mean, because Israel's not on the whole Jesus thing, right? So they believe
No, but
they
but
believe in God the Father, but not
right.
God the Son. So there's a split there. I'll give that like a half credit,
Wait,
right?
and isn't Muhammad also a prophet of God? It's the same God.
No, the God of the Christian faith is not Muhammad.
No, I understand that. Muhammad is a prophet, like Jesus is a prophet. But isn't
Oh, right,
Muhammad?
Allah. No, Allah is God, right? So that
Oh,
is
that
not
is
the
a different God.
yes, that's not the biblical, the God of the Bible.
Look, I'm not a theologist.
Right, we've established
I,
this.
I just was
Wait,
curious.
I think it's theologian, but we digress.
We do.
Anywho, I'll just say something real quick and then I'll let you give your thoughts. Look, dude, I gotta give it to Donald Trump. And
Wow.
you know me, I am not a fan overall, but on certain issues, I do not put on the jersey, and I do not hate something because Trump loves it or love something because Trump hates it. I try to be down with the policy, and when
Mhm.
he does something great, like he's done, I think on the border in 4 months, I call it out. When he's on the right side, I
Wow,
call it
that's
out.
you got to unpack that border thing. We can come back to
Well,
that.
I think yeah, that's the difference between border and interior enforcement.
Yeah,
I
go
I
ahead.
have
Sorry.
I draw a line there. But on this issue, man, he nailed it. I said last week I think we would join the war. I think we should in a limited capacity just to bomb the nuclear sites, which is what we did. And I think it was worth the gamble. And by the way, we don't look, maybe the ceasefire doesn't hold, maybe it all comes apart. But what was Iran's response? Everyone said, you can't do this. It'll be another forever war. This is, going to be Iraq and Afghanistan all over again. What did Iran do? What was their response?
They
They
farted
fired
at Qatar.
14, right. They fired 14 missiles at Qatar. Trump said we had advance notice. I don't know if we did or not, but we shot all of them out of the sky except for one, and that one didn't really do any damage. No American casualties. Iran then apparently signaled they were done. And apparently, we've got this at least temporary ceasefire. And Iran's nuclear program, if it's not completely destroyed, is at least set back years now because of what the United States and credit where credit is due, Israel, because the United States would have never gotten involved if Israel hadn't done the really hard work and the heavy lifting of taking out their air defenses and
300 of their leaders.
right, hundreds of their leaders, their nuclear scientists, 2/3 of their missile launchers. So Israel did the dirty
They
work. I
did
want to
it.
be clear, but still, there was a lot of pressure from Democrats, some of whom, by the way, if Biden had done this, would have supported it. And also within his own MAGA coalition. Trump, if you follow his political career, he gets away with a lot. But one thing he is often loath to do is to attack his base and go in a different position than they have. And you've seen this with different things. I remember gun control. He kind of flirted with that in his first term and then quickly reversed
Yeah.
himself. You see it on abortion sometimes. Like there are certain times where even Trump will back off when he gets criticism from within the MAGA base, but not here. Like some of the stars of MAGA, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, others, Steve Bannon, who
Yeah.
has a
Don't get
huge
involved.
platform. They came out aggressively against this and lobbied hard for it not to happen. And they all have huge platforms. And so he not only just stared down some Democrats who said don't do it, he stared down his MAGA base. I give him a ton of credit. One of the things I was concerned about with Trump is I thought he was too isolationist. You can't argue that this was an isolationist move, but he pulled it off. It was a very successful bombing. He did what needed to be done, and it looks like, again, knock on wood, the repercussions are going to be extremely minimal. No forever war, no World War III. We got in, did what we needed to do, and got out. And by the way, they got it done without tipping, which is, if you remember the Signal chat with Pete Hegseth, remember
Yes.
when they were giving away the details?
They didn't post it on True Social. Congratulations.
Right. This one, total C. In fact, they even ran a decoy mission. They decoyed. They launched B-2 bombers from Missouri to the Pacific, or at least said they did. I don't even know if they ever launched them. And the media picked up on that, and it turns out the real bombers were going the other way over the Atlantic, and those were the ones that hit Iran.
It is shorter though to go over the Atlantic,
right? Of course, which is why they did it. So again, on a whole host of areas, I think Donald Trump is on the wrong path, to say the least. On this one, total credit where credit is due. I think he nailed it.
Okay,
Your
fine.
thoughts?
But it was a bit of a layup. I mean, it's like you're in a basketball game and you're up 86-4, and then you come off the bench and hit a couple threes and start like pointing at your back of your jersey. Like that was all because of you. I'm just saying it has that feeling to it, man. Like, it's not. Look, I don't want to take anything away from the military and what they did. And yes, it was a successful mission. And if this works out, which I have my doubts about. Because here's the thing. Trump says a lot of things. He posts a lot of things. This is a really weird thing to say, man, but it's possible that there is no ceasefire that has been agreed upon. Like, he could be saying it because he wants one.
I thought that originally too, but now I did. And there was.
That's amazing, though.
Yeah, but it looks like from what I'm seeing that after Iran initially denied it, but now it appears that they are saying that because they're in a little bit of disarray, right? As we know, a lot of their leaders are dead, but it looks like they have agreed.
That is where I was going to go, which is if you are Iran, a ceasefire seems like a pretty good deal right now. Because
Absolutely.
You maintain your government, as flimsy as it is, you get to stay in power and bombs stop dropping on your head. So even if you get a tiny reprieve, a week, 2 weeks, a month, I mean, do you honestly believe this is a long-term ceasefire that's going to last? Like, it could, but I also could see them digging up the uranium that's buried and being like, all right, well, let's give it another go and try and get this enriched, because we talked about this last week. There's so much incentive for them to try and do it. I guess if I'm Iran, yeah, I'm in huge favor of ceasefire right now because I've been getting punched in the face for 12 straight days and I need a break.
I think, look, who knows, right, what's going to happen, but my guess is this will hold for a while. Not, probably not forever, but it will hold for a while. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, Iran was so decimated. In the first few days of this war, they were able to fire a decent number of ballistic missiles at Israel at once. And then later in the last few days, it's been long gaps. There was like a 30-hour period where they didn't fire any. Reports are Israel's destroyed 2/3 of their launchers. Like, it doesn't matter how many missiles you have if you can't launch them. And not to mention the mass murder that Israel has taken out their top level of their military leadership. It appears again that they've destroyed the nuclear program, even if some of the uranium
It's going to be very
survived,
difficult.
which is possible. Here's the thing: you have to be able to enrich the uranium, right?
Yes.
So you can have I could have uranium sitting here in my
I would
in my
advise
house,
against that.
right?
It's a bit of a hazard.
But it doesn't
No,
matter if I don't have the infrastructure and capability to enrich it and then
correct.
put it into a bomb. And all of that infrastructure has been destroyed. So even if they have some spare uranium sitting around, they can't do shit with it for a very long time. And so, but look, do I think Iran's going to long term be like, hey, we're cool now with Israel. We're going to give up
But
our
that's
nuclear
my
program
point.
forever? Of course not. But that's okay. That would have been, look, I said last week the best case scenario would be regime change. But I don't think America should force regime change. I think if we've learned any lesson from Iraq, it is that has to come organically. Maybe we can help give it a little push or nudge, but for the most part, it's got to come from the people. And that's up to the Iranian people. Now, that doesn't mean Israel may not take out the supreme leader and try for regime change down the road, but I think Israel's satisfied for now too. I mean, there was one of the things that Israel has been doing for a long time is carrying out assassinations of nuclear
Yeah.
scientists in Iran, bombing the certain facility or blowing up certain facilities here or there covertly, and they called it mowing the lawn.
Yes, I remember this.
Right. They were mowing the lawn because if you have people determined to get a nuclear weapon,
Death to America.
you're
Death to
not going to
Israel.
stop them permanently, right? They're going to keep trying, but it's just like the grass. It will grow when you mow it. This was like, okay, we're taking the lawn out and we're paving the driveway, right? So it doesn't mean that maybe they can't try to grow grass again, but you're not going to have to mow anything for a long time. So I think Israel will be satisfied for now. And I, big picture, stepping back, Jeffrey Goldberg had a very good piece in the Atlantic today about, and his thesis was Sinwar, who is the now murdered leader of Hamas. He essentially went rogue on October 7th, 2023, and slaughtered over 1,000 Israelis brutally, beheadings, children killed, raped, hostages taken. And a lot has happened since then. But if you look at it in total, what a colossal strategic blunder by Sinwar.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, because not only is he dead, and most of his friends and the leadership of Hamas are dead, and Hamas is essentially a fraction of what it once was, but Hezbollah has been completely neutered. They were a very powerful proxy. I mean, we mentioned this last week on the show. Israel fought a war with Hezbollah 20-ish years ago, and Israel eventually was like, okay, let's stop. Because it was so painful. It was getting painful for them. They were losing people. Hezbollah was no joke. And Israel killed their leader, killed most of their top remember the pager bombings and other things, took out most of their missiles. And Hezbollah's done nothing since this war with Iran started. They are weak. The Houthis in Yemen, they are really weak. Syria, which was the biggest state supporter of Iran, their leader is in Russia. They have a new government that hates that is Sunni Arab, and Iran is Shia. They hate Iran. They're gone essentially as an ally, and Iran itself now has basically no nuclear program, very few missile launchers left, and most of their leaders dead. So just think about, like, I know things haven't gone great in Gaza, and there's been a lot of suffering, and I don't agree with every decision Israel's made in Gaza, but overall, it's stunning how bad that decision by Sinwar was on October 7th and the repercussions from it. It has completely transformed the Middle East in the last it's not even been 2 years.
Well, you and I talked about this on the show, so I'll keep it brief. But when you commit such a heinous act on innocent people, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy when the repercussion comes. I think as humanity understands wars, militaries fighting each other, that type of thing. But like you said, when you talk about women and children and rape and beheadings, and these are not military people, you have basically given a very powerful nation in Israel just a free pass to do whatever they want. I think it's as simple as that. Which,
Mhm.
I mean, not to oversimplify it, but that's why it was such a huge blunder. If they were taking out strategic military targets in Israel, I don't think you have these outcomes.
No,
More
I
less
mean, if
less likely.
think about that, if Hamas had simply done nothing and never had October 7th, their movement and the broader movement that is supported by their sponsor state, Iran, would be in a much, much, much stronger position.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
they essentially destroy, and I'm glad, by the way, that their movement has been destroyed. I'm glad that things have happened. By again, not I don't agree with everything. I particularly
No,
didn't like the to me the thing that Israel did that was the most egregious
the
was
modern day
earlier this
siege.
year when they did the 11, I think it was 11 weeks where they essentially allowed no food or
Yeah,
medicine or water
yeah,
to
a
go into
modern day
Gaza.
siege.
That was, in my opinion, shameful, and that was awful and terrible. But by and large, you can't disagree. You
No,
can't
and
with what they've accomplished. It's been tremendous. Like if you would have told Israel on October 8th, a year and a half from now, you were going to not only take revenge on Hamas, but you were going to weaken and in some cases destroy all of these proxies and including Iran itself, I don't think they would have believed you.
yeah, I guess the way that I kind of want to tie a bow on this for myself is the issue that I've had when we talk about modern day warfare, which is you have the back and forth, people die, but what actually changes? I think we are almost prolonging an inevitable conflict. I mean, I'm not saying Israel and Iran should try and take over each other's territories. Obviously, that would be awful and probably have a very poor outcome for either side because it's not likely to happen. I guess for me, I just fail to understand what we have really achieved here other than weakening, air quote, Iran's position in the world. But I feel like if enough time goes by, these are resilient people. And we're going to be right back to square one. I don't know if it'll be next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but we're going to be old men having this conversation, Eric, because the 12-day war could just as easily be the 12,000-year war.
Yeah, well, that's the time. Look, that's the time frame that religious extremists that believe in an extreme version of Islam they take the long view.
They
And
do.
so for them it's not about a 12-day or even a 12-year war. I will say I think Iran, you get so weak you could fall. Like that's
Yeah.
one thing that's changed. Iran was not their government was not weak enough to potentially topple 2 years ago.
And if there is change, you would like that change to come from within.
It's got to come from organically. And look, the people of Iran, by and large, hate their government. The women that are killed, and just because they wear the wrong thing. The stories are endless. People they take their eyes if they show too much hair. I mean, it's a barbaric
It is.
regime
It
from
is,
like the seventh century.
and this will be my last comment on this topic. There are no more original thoughts. Like I'm just giving my opinions of someone else's opinions that I've read generally as it comes to like politics. So I don't know if someone has said this, but this was actually my own original thought, which is
Yeah,
that if you have Facebook and Instagram and the Kardashians will have more influence on that culture than Tomahawk missiles. Because
right.
Tomahawk missiles is something that those people understand. They don't understand the Kardashians. But if the young people understand the Kardashians and
Yeah,
they see them and they try and emulate them, look, I'm not saying the Kardashians are perfect, but they are something that I understand that people aspire to. And they are hyperbolic Western culture, right? So I guess my overarching point is that the internet and television and influencing young people will have a greater impact on actually changing these barbaric things that you're talking about. There's always going to be pushback with any social change. I don't care if you're talking about women's right to vote or slavery or whatever you're talking about. It takes a long time because there's always going to be resistance from the people in power. I assure you
yeah,
that the men in Iran, the clerics, the people who are in charge, the people that are corrupt, that are making all the money, are not willing to just give it up. That
no,
seems unlikely. So
does.
if you can get young people in there and influence them, that will do better than any missile that we could ever launch.
Absolutely. I think the other thing too that you were asking what really changed. I mean, the Middle East is transformed. You saw these Arab states, they did not come to Iran's defense. Even
Well, that would have been a dumb
publicly.
idea.
Well, no, but I'm saying like even rhetorically, even when they would chastise Iran publicly, privately they were rooting or Israel, they were rooting for Israel. And the Sunni states like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, the UAE, they are with Israel.
Of course, because of
Now,
money.
well, not just money. They have the shared common hatred of Iran.
Iran.
But
Yeah,
remember, if you go back 40 years, that wasn't the case.
true.
Basically, everyone in that region wanted Israel destroyed. And now things have changed in a couple of generations. But Israel has to capitalize on this because they need to, we had the Abraham Accords under the first Trump administration where they normalized relations with several of those Arab countries, including the UAE, but not Saudi Arabia. And in fact, that's the big one, right? Because Saudi Arabia is the most powerful Arab country in that region, other than maybe Iran, probably more than Iran now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that is if they could,
well, they have nuclear weapons.
A lot of people speculate, and I think this is actually true. The reason you had October 7th, the reason that Sinwar did that is because he knew that a normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia was getting close. And if that were to happen, and Israel made peace with pretty much all of its neighbors other than Iran, that's a game changer in the Middle East. And I think that day could happen. But I think we're closer to that. But Israel has to solve the situation in Gaza in a way that gives the Palestinian people some dignity, and also in the West Bank. And that is the issue with Israel, because I did praise them earlier. So I want to say they have done damage with a lot of people in the world, including in the United States and Europe, with their credibility because of the war in Gaza and generally the way the Palestinians have been treated. Settlements in the West Bank, settler violence in the West Bank. In order to take the next step, they're going to have to come up with some solution to make the lives of the Palestinians better. And that's going to have to happen. And I don't know if this Netanyahu government's
no, they don't.
Fact,
and that's what I was just going to say.
Will.
Historically, Israel has not had a willingness to do that, which is why we keep well, that's too broad of a statement. That obviously is not the only reason why we're coming back here. But I think a lot about like Germany after World War One. They were so oppressed after World War One. Look at the leadership that they got, and I'm not trying to make like a Third Reich reference for any other reason than to say, when you embarrass a people, to your point where you're like, they need to have some type of dignity in this. Like, if they're not given any dignity, what reason do they have to not rebuild and retaliate again? But Israel just does not trust the Palestinians to do that. They don't. Well, they don't have a reason to trust them. Let's just call a spade a spade. They don't.
I mean, look, to be fair to Israel, they have offered peace on very reasonable terms numerous times. And every time they were rebuffed by the Palestinians. And so about 20 years ago, they just decided, fuck it. And we're going to walk away. That's by and large what the Israel society believes in. The Israeli left is completely collapsed. And that's one of the reasons you have the far right-wing government. And I understand why they feel that way. However, in order to get the kind of future we're talking about and take that next step, there's going to have to be some type of solution that gives the Palestinians something.
I thought we were going to buy it and turn it into like hotels.
Trump hotels. I don't think that's actually going to.
You don't think they're going to go for that?
Odds of success. No, I don't think so. Oh, one other point. Getting back to what you said at the beginning, because I didn't have a chance to rebut this. I give Trump a lot more credit than you do on this. And one of the reasons is not just because it's very hard to go against your own political base. And to some degree, he did that. And also, by the way, look, I voted for Kamala Harris. I think she would have been overall a much better choice. I believe that then. I believe it now. I think in a lot of areas, she would be doing things differently and better than Trump. But I don't think she would have done this. I don't think Joe Biden would have done this. I think they would not have pulled the trigger on something like this. They would have, when Israel attacked Iran, they would have pressured Netanyahu to stop. They would have called for a ceasefire. They would have certainly not, in my opinion, bombed the hell out of those nuclear facilities. They would have
I
missed
don't
the
know.
opportunity. And I, oh, no, there's no
Well,
chance.
it's easy to say
As
with the
An-
benefit of hindsight. Hillary Clinton would have done it. I guarantee you
Well,
that.
But look, Hillary Clinton's not
Barack
winning a
Obama would have done
nomination.
it too. I guarantee you.
What I'm saying is the modern Democratic Party, there is no way their leadership would have pulled the trigger on this. And so that's another reason I give Trump credit, because he did something that not only did someone in his own party want to do it, but I don't think there's any chance the other party would have done it.
I think there would have been someone on the
right
Democratic side that would have been smart enough to say, like, hey, guys, the lane's wide open. We have a layup. Maybe we should take it.
I think you underestimate how anti-Israel the left has become.
Oh, no. I do not. I do not.
To the point where it's going to be a while before Joe Biden will probably be the last, unless my boy Josh Shapiro comes through in 2028. Joe Biden may be the last super pro-Israeli Democratic president we see in a while. I could be wrong on that.
Why do you think Joe Shapiro would be pro-Israel?
He's Jewish, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be pro-Israel. You're right.
I'm joking.
I mean, look, he hasn't really said a lot.
No, smart man.
Right. So we'll find out a lot more as his
turns out he's a politician.
Arises. Although someone literally did try to kill him and burn down his house with his family in it because they believed he was too pro-Israel. All right. What do you think about the big, beautiful bill, Brian? It has passed the House. It's going to get a vote most likely this week in the Senate, although they're not sure about that. They're not sure if they can get the votes. The Senate's made a bunch of changes, but generally speaking, the bill calls for massive tax cuts, permanent extensions of the 2017 tax cuts, which are set to expire at the end of this year, relief for people who are tipped workers with taxes, relief for overtime workers. You can write off car loan interest at least for a few years. There's all kinds of corporate tax breaks. And on the other side, there's going to be a big reduction in the amount of money spent on Medicaid, which is health insurance primarily for the poor people and the working poor, and also things like SNAP, which is food assistance. All told, though, it's going to add, based on the outside groups that have looked at it, somewhere around $2.5 to $3 trillion to the national debt over the next 10 years. What do you make of this bill? Is this good policy? Is it good politics? Do you think it gets through?
Just like I'm not a theologian, I'm also not an expert on the economy. But so I'm going to make some broad statements. I like tax cuts. As I understand.
Of course you do. As any of our loyal listeners know.
Look, I'm adverse to paying taxes, like only when I have to. I try and find every loophole I can. Like basically when I do my taxes, they tell me how much I owe and I say, I don't like that. Take it back and come back to me with another number. And magically every time the next number is lower than the first one they gave me. So let me just say that taxes aren't always an exact science. I guess my point being though is, yeah, of course, who's not going to like tax cuts, man? Like those things are great. The issue is obvious. We're getting rid of a lot of programs that people rely on. And we are adding to the debt. But you and I have talked about this on the show before, man. I don't know at this juncture how much our debt actually matters. And even people that are economists and do this for a living are, I'm saying what they're saying, which is like, it hasn't really had a net negative impact on our economy long term since we brought debt on. The challenge here, to tie a bow on this one, is that the more debt that we bring on and the less income we bring in to run our government, we are just continually kicking the can down the road. And I do firmly believe that at some point and at some juncture in time, we're going to have so much out of our budget that's just servicing the debt that running an effective government without raising taxes a lot, it's going to happen at some point. I don't know when, I don't know how, but am I saying anything unreasonable here?
we're already there to some degree. I mean, we spend more money just servicing the interest on our debt this year than we will spend on our military.
That's insanity.
And we spend a lot of money,
yeah, we
about
do.
$1 trillion on the military.
It's a bit.
And so 1 out of every $7 the federal government spends is on servicing just the interest on the debt. And that number isn't going down. It's going up, especially as interest rates remain high. So your point of it didn't matter, I think you're generally right in the past. We're getting to the point where it does matter. It's kind of like, if you like cupcakes, if you eat a cupcake today, that's fine. And then if you eat one tomorrow, you're going to be fine. But if you eat like 5 a day for 30 years, you might drop dead of a heart attack. And it's so possible. It doesn't matter until it does. Right?
It's
not
it's for certain, but it is a likely outcome. I agree with you on the cupcakes.
And here's the thing. This bill, so the House version, again, the Senate version is slightly different, but generally speaking, they're close. We'll see what the final version comes out as. They estimate, the Congressional Budget Office, even when accounting for economic effects, it will be $2.8 trillion in debt over a decade that this bill would add, as opposed to us doing nothing.
Right.
That is crazy. And the reason we're doing that is, let's be honest, is tax cuts. They want the tax cuts. And they say, well, we'll grow our way out of it. The Republican argument is, don't believe these estimates. I went back and looked, because they made the same argument in 2017. They said, we're passing these massive tax cuts, but it's okay because economic growth will be so big that we'll get so much more tax revenue that it won't matter. So I went and looked. The 3 years before COVID, when Trump was president, 2017, 18, and 19, the first year of that, you did not have the tax cuts because they were passed that year. They went into effect then the last 2. So what happened to GDP? It barely budged. All 3 of those years, 2017, 18, 19, our GDP was somewhere between 2.5% and 3% growth. And that's fine. That's nice growth, but it didn't dramatically spike growth, and it's not going to dramatically spike growth again. So you're adding all this money to the debt, and what are you getting? You're getting a massive transfer of wealth from poor people to rich people.
Yeah.
If they did analysis of this, so if you divide every economic bracket into 10, the top 10% at a time, right? The top 10% and then the bracket below that. So essentially the top 20% are getting increases based on this bill of their total household income of around 10%.
That sounds amazing.
The bottom 20%, the poorest of the poor, are losing money.
Of course.
From this. So we are transferring, and think about this. This is the MAGA coalition that is now, I mean, when you and I were growing up, Republicans were the party of the upper middle class and the rich. That is no longer the case. They are now the party of the working class, and by and large, and that what we're doing in this bill is you're taking money and benefits from the working class in order to give tax cuts to the mega rich. The stat that I think
well, not really just the mega rich. If you're talking about the top 20%,
okay,
like those aren't mega rich people.
No, people like you who don't check the price of gas or groceries, right? So
I know we always make a joke about this, and I really do enjoy it. But just like hear me out for a second. When you talk about the Republican position on this is why there is so little faith and trust in government. Because you remember the old adage in this, which was trickle down economics. If you give more money to the top, it'll trickle down to the bottom. And you may dislike this, but I have no other evidence than anecdotal to bring to you. So I'll just make it about myself for 2 seconds without exact figures. So all this money that I've saved since 2017, since those initial tax cuts, what do you think I've done with it? I've saved it. I've invested in the stock market. I haven't bought more widgets. I didn't go anywhere else or do anything extra. Because there is a point in your life when you make a certain amount of money that it doesn't matter anymore. Like, so to not make this about me, it's like Jim Carrey saying, what am I going to do? Put a tennis court on top of my tennis court? What do you think he does with this extra income and these tax savings? He invests it in companies. He puts it in the stock market. He invests in assets. He's not buying more widgets. He's not doing more things. So that's why I've never liked the idea of like trickle down economics. If you actually wanted to have a more robust and vibrant economy, it seems to me that you would take money from people who actually don't, and this is a hard thing to say, and don't tell my wife, don't really need it,
Right.
and give it to people so they can buy stuff they actually need. Because that's the biggest mistake that I hear all the time that gets done over and over and over again is like middle class and lower middle class families, dude, they need new stoves. They need an air conditioner. Right. They need clothes and shoes and a new car. Like they could use that stuff.
Right.
But again, I go back to once you make a certain amount of money, and I don't remember this, I'm so old, but it used to, back when I actually studied this thing, the number they used was $75,000 a year for an individual. Like once you make $75,000 a year, you have pretty much, you have enough money to do all the things that you want to do, and you really don't need to do anything else. I'm sure that number has gone up exponentially.
It's a lot higher now.
Certainly, it's a lot higher now. But you get my larger point, right? Like when we talk about taxes and bills and everything else, I mean, dude, I know how I said I don't like paying taxes and doing all that kind of stuff. But in this area, I am more like Bernie Sanders than anybody else. I would be fine paying more money in taxes. But this is the key, and this is the key. It's a Noam Chomsky thing. If the money that I took out of my paycheck and gave to the government in taxes was actually used for things that benefited me and my local community, I would have no problem with it. The problem is we pay taxes for dumb shit.
We do on some things.
There's so much. No, hear me out. I'm just saying there's so much waste. Like Noam Chomsky's thing is tax day should be a day in America that we celebrate. Because it should be like when we pool all of our money together and we get it, like greatly benefits our society. But people don't feel like that is what happens, though.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just people are wrong in some degree. I mean, everybody who's getting a Social Security check, that's tax dollars, Medicare, Medicaid, roads, bridges, like it. And I think I'm glad in a way that Elon Musk was so aggressive with Doge and still is. He's not there obviously anymore, but his people still are.
Yeah, it turned out that was bad for his business.
Yeah, I'm glad they were. I disagree with the way they did it. I think it was chaotic and led to some really bad outcomes and literally led to some people dying in places like Africa. When we pulled some of our aid, there is some level of waste, fraud, and abuse. But the fact that they have found, as of now, so little money compared to what they were promising, I think shows you that the government, far from being perfect, runs a lot more efficiently than people think it does. And the money, by and large, with exceptions, gets to the things that it is supposed to.
No, we agree.
Now, you may disagree with where it goes, and you may think we shouldn't spend it on this or that. That's fine. Those are policy disagreements. But the money, by and large, gets where it was intended to go. Here's the stat that drives it home. For roughly in this bill, in the House version, over a 10-year window, taxes to people making over $500,000, the tax cuts, will total $1.1 trillion. The amount of money cut from Medicaid and food stamps, people losing those services, will total about $1.1 trillion. So that is insane. In an age of rising income inequality, getting back to your point, if you give a rich person $1,000 extra, they'll spend some of it, but they're going to save a lot of it.
No, they are not. They're going to buy another house.
Save it all.
They're going to buy another asset. You know what I'm going to do with my money? Give it to my children.
Right. Whereas if you give that same $1,000 to the vast majority of people in this country, not just the poor people, middle class and even upper middle class, they're spending it.
Yeah,
they're
spending buy things they need
or most of it. And so if you really want to stimulate the economy, if that's your goal, that is where the money should go.
Like I said, man, I'm Bernie Sanders on this one. He and I agree.
I'm not as far left as him. Like, I think you can go too far the other way. But this bill is nowhere near that. And one last thing, they talk about work requirements, which would be the big way that they would save money in this bill, is they would force people to work who are on Medicaid. The vast majority of people on Medicaid already work or have some other exemption. And the thing that drives this home is in Arkansas during the first Trump administration, they actually did this. They implemented work requirements for people with Medicaid. It sounds like a great idea, right? In principle, I agree with that. I think people should have to work or go to college while they're on Medicaid. But what happened in practice is thousands of people lost their Medicaid coverage, even though they were working or had some other exemption, meaning they were disabled or they were in school. 95, I think it was 95% of the people who lost their coverage actually shouldn't have lost it. Why did they lose it? Because of paperwork and logistics and having to file it every week. If you've ever dealt with a government program, you know how complicated
it's a nightmare.
Be. And so, yeah, it sounds great. Work requirement. Yeah, they should have to work 20 hours. Make them work. But in reality, the way the system works is these states are so bad at setting these systems up, and people and you're requiring people who are already struggling. If you're on Medicaid, by and large, you've got, you're struggling financially. Now you've put another layer of burden on, again, the people that are struggling most in our society to try to conform to this system. So that's yet another reason why this big, beautiful bill is a really bad idea.
You just reminded me in Florida when they wanted people to use a drug test, like a urinalysis, to get food stamps. Like, that seems easy enough. You go pee in a cup, you test it, whatever. Do you know how big of a program that is? Like, do you know how many people it takes to, like, actually run it and do it efficiently and report it correctly? Like, what are we doing? Like, dude, if you have so little money that you're on food stamps and you want to smoke some weed, God bless you, man. Like, I don't blame you one bit.
Yeah, I wonder what they're doing now too in states where that's legal. Like, do you still test for that if it's legal? All right, Brian, let's turn to the world of sports. The NBA Finals are over. Game 7 last night, as we're recording this on Monday. The Pacers lost. Their comeback came up short. The Thunder are your NBA champions, and now the offseason begins. The same day, we hear that Kevin Durant is being traded to the Houston Rockets, who really had a great season this year.
They did.
Houston only had to give up one first-round pick. That was in this year's draft. They did give up Green, who's one of their good young players, but he was terrible in the playoffs anyway. They still keep most of their core together. And Kevin Durant, I know he's 37 years old. He had a fantastic.
He's had 3 straight consecutive years that have been insane.
Yeah, 3 straight years of
over 50%.
Yeah, over 50% from the field,
and 25 points a game. Yeah,
25 and 40% from 3. No player in NBA history has ever done that.
Nobody
for three.
Not even God, not even Jesus Christ. Michael Jordan did it. I find that impossible to believe.
I don't know if Jordan ever shot 40.
He's the 4th God. Like, we had 3 gods earlier. Jordan is the 4th God. So,
what do you make of Durant to the Rockets, and also with the finals now with the Thunder? And do you think? I mean, the Thunder's still the favorite, right? They would have to be after the regular season they had.
Well, they have like 15 draft picks over the next 5 years, so they're going to be good for a while, man. I think this is the beginning of an OKC dynastic type of run, barring injuries. I mean, they were the best team from start to finish. The surprise was that it went 7 games, and Indiana was a great story. So the only thing that I want to spend time on during this little segment is saying how sick I was when Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. Like, it is him playing in that game. It's game 7. It's the NBA Finals. Indiana may never get back there. But by playing and then rupturing your Achilles, dude, the money in the NBA, not just now, but for a while, is insane. SGA is about to make $75 to $80 million a year. So, I mean, I know that it's the finals and you're there to win and whatever, but I'm so sad for Tyrese Halliburton because not only is he an exciting player, but like there's no guarantee that he comes back from this. Like, an Achilles injury is it used to be career ending. Now Durant came back from it. We'll see how Tatum recovers. But Klay Thompson has never been the same since he ruptured his Achilles. But that moment, just the
Durant, though,
air.
remember,
No,
Durant did it in the
Durant, yeah.
finals, and
But
he
just
came back. Took a while.
the air that came out of that arena when he went down, I would have liked. Now, OKC deserves it. They are the best team from start to finish. They are the champion, yada yada, whatever. But I feel like we were robbed because I feel like Halliburton was going to have a night when they were down, when they were up at the half, and then they were only down like 9 points. Just, I mean, watching, God bless his heart, TJ McConnell try and carry the Pacers. You just wish you would have had Halliburton out there.
McConnell did have a great series, though. I
Oh
mean, he
no,
had a couple of huge
but
games.
I would think you would agree that he is not as good as
Right.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Especially in the playoffs. Like Tyrese Halliburton had some of the literally most epic playoff performances in the closing minutes of games we've ever seen.
It was great.
I mean, he was incredible. They had how many I think they had 3 comebacks when they were down by 7 or more points in the last minute. And they won 3 games, I believe, in the playoffs, which is incredible. No team had ever done that, obviously, because that's
Right.
insane. Like, so you're right. It's an incredible story. So we've had 7 years with 7 different champions. That has not happened since the ABA NBA merger in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we will have an 8th year with an 8 different champion next year?
No, because I think Boston is going to be good again, even with the Tatum injury. And I think Oklahoma City is going to be in there. Denver's very good.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about these 7 different champions over the last 7 years. It turns out that those teams are still good. The one team, or actually, there are 2 teams that could change that to give us an 8th team. The Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be very, very good.
Yes.
And the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
Whether or not they added Durant or not, I think Durant does make them better because, God, man, if Houston had a veteran this season, someone of Durant's stature that they could just feed the ball to in these critical moments, what a difference it would have made for them. So either one of those 2 teams could make it the 8th team. So it's not impossible. I'm just saying I would think that either the Lakers with Luka in his second year are going to be very good. Yeah, I don't know. They were one of the 7 champions over the last 7 years. So I don't know. I would say I'd give it a 95% chance that it won't be.
Oh, it won't be. I think it's lower than that because of Houston. Houston now has the second best title odds of any team in the league behind OKC after the trade. The thing about Durant, again, old but still incredibly effective.
He's very good.
And also, if ESPN pointed this out in an article I read about his shooting, how he was the number 1 player in the league in shooting percentage on jump shots. And again, we mentioned the over 40% on 3. Mid-range, he was number 1 in the league.
Oh, he's great.
And if you look at Houston, they were terrible at mid-range and jump shots. That was their biggest weakness because, as we mentioned, they did a lot of other things really well. And so not only is Durant still a great player, but he's a great player who gives them something they desperately needed. So it's not just adding a player that's another star. It's a fit. It's someone they really needed. And so I think they're going to be really good again. But you talked about No, go ahead.
I was going to say, before I make a commitment on this, I think the domino that needs to fall is where does Giannis end up?
Yes.
Because if Giannis moves to one of these 7 teams that already has the title, I kind of like their odds.
Yes, that's true. And by the way, his current team is one of those teams too.
No, I agree. But
if he stays in Milwaukee, I don't. Yeah, their window is closed.
Yeah, Lillard wasn't the answer there, unfortunately, for them.
Yeah, I wonder what. I haven't seen the odds in a while. I'm curious what his next team odds are. Let's see.
I bet you the Miami Heat have to be up there.
Okay, so the Spurs, number 1. The Rockets were second. You would think this rules them out, but they still have a lot of draft capital. I saw that the other day. The Mavericks third, the Heat, and then the Lakers. The Spurs would be an amazing fit, although their window is not yet. with that Wemby and Castle and the young core they have at Fox, but it would be now, I think, if they
Oh
got
my God,
Giannis,
dude! But
their window would open.
Wemby
That
is
would
one of those players that it doesn't matter if he goes to any team, their odds of winning a championship go up.
Giannis. You said Wemby. You meant yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Giannis,
yeah.
yeah.
Giannis
Any team that
because
Giannis goes to is going to be better than before he got there.
because like and don't the other thing too is Wembanyama. I know he's still only what like 20 or 21, and he was hurt this year. It wouldn't shock me if he's first team All NBA this season. Like
He
he's
should be.
already probably the best defensive player in the league.
He
He
is,
literally
no,
won.
he is.
He is. He literally won Defensive Player of the Year, or would have won it had he not been
Had
injured.
he
He
not
was the
got hurt.
overwhelming favorite. And offensively, his game really came around in year two. So I think that would be imagine those two together. My God, what do you think about? You mentioned the Thunder with everything we just said about all these other teams, Houston and whoever Giannis goes to, and Boston, who don't sleep on them after the injury to Tatum. They'll be back ready to go.
Porzingis was hurt down the stretch.
Porzingis, right?
That was huge for them, man.
Yeah, which was an illness from months earlier, which was
Yeah.
so weird that I don't know what that illness was, but I do not want.
He
that
was
like the
so
long
important
COVID?
to them. I don't know.
Did he
Like
have long
when
COVID?
he was out, they were just such a different team.
Yeah, but anyway, saying all that, what is your over under for Thunder championships with this core, with the Shea Gilgeous Alexander, Chet, Jalen Williams core? Give me your over under for how many titles they win.
3.5.
Oh my God! Wow, that would be dynastic. That's
With this
high.
core?
And they're so young. Shea
Well, that's
is
the
what,
thing.
26, 27. I'm gonna say 2.5.
2.5.
And the reason I say that isn't anything against them. It's just as we've seen, we're in an age of parity in the league, and there's so many teams with good young cores, and it's so hard to do
Over and over again. Yeah, we know
over
that.
and over. And by the way, Shea, like the salary cap's going to be a thing for them. They're going to be locked.
Yeah,
in
if he
for
makes
the
80
two.
million, it's going to be
Because
tough.
Shea is going to make
But
80
you
million
no,
a
but you
year.
heard what I said. Obviously, they're not going to be able to keep everybody. You
Right.
can't. No championship team can keep everyone. But what they can do with all the draft picks that they have is get replacements, and this is the scary part, that may be better than the guys they have now.
Yeah, that's possible. No, you're right. Especially if they package some of the guys they have now, add in some of those draft picks, and
Yes.
yeah, they could do a little sign and trade action. All right, Brian. Let's move to the world of entertainment. I got nothing again this week. I'm on an entertainment break right now. What do you got? Any reviews for us?
So this is going to be funny. I definitely went to a movie with my son. What was it? Oh, yes. Final Reckoning. Mission Impossible.
Oh, nice. Okay,
And I will give a 30-second review, which is
that's it. That's all you got.
well, no, because I mean, you can't really spoil a Mission Impossible movie, can you? It's the same plot over and over and over again.
Right.
I have to say, a bit long. A bit long.
What did it clock in at? Like
It's
2.5?
almost 3 hours.
Damn, that is too long for a Mission Impossible
Like,
movie.
yeah, well, I was captivated by this
Really?
film. It was so well done. Look, I'm just going to tell you, I love Tom Cruise. I like Tom Cruise like I like Nicolas Cage. I don't know. I just love them. Everything
That's
I
high
see them in,
praise.
I love them. They're so good. Like, I don't know what to say, man. I love the Mission Impossible movies. I liked all of them. It's such a guy movie, but the stunts in this are absolutely incredible. Like like you've seen the one on the airplane where he's like on the airplane. They're having like
I've
a
seen it on
dog
the
fight.
preview. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
It's
is the-
remarkable.
What about the plot?
It's
Doesn't
not
make
important.
sense. Right. In one of these movies, it's really not.
No, but like it sounds like I'm being critical. I'm just being like honest for myself. The plot is irrelevant to the movie.
What did you give it? Well, give me your
I give it a 9 out of 10.
Wow, that is high praise.
I
Is
like
it your
Final Reckoning Part
favorite?
1. I like Final Reckoning Part 2. No, it's not my favorite one. My favorite one is the one with Henry Cavill.
Oh, I
can't-
don't remember
I
that
can't remember
one.
the name of it, but the Superman.
There's been so
as
many.
one of the bad guys.
You know, I have probably only ever seen 3 Mission Impossible movies.
Well, then you've
Maybe
seen them all. I
no,
mean, there's
there's a
8 of
lot.
them. No, there's 8.
Oh,
There's
right.
8 Mission Impossible. But if you've seen 3, you've basically
You've
seen the
seen them
other
all.
5.
Yeah,
With the
that's
exception
true.
of 2, which number 2 Mission Impossible was John Woo. And Tom Cruise has really long hair. And coming off of the first one that had what's Angelina Jolie's dad's name?
John Voight.
John Voight. Oh, John Voight. John Voight just makes me smile. Like I
Trump's
love
ambassador to Hollywood.
John Voight. He was so good in that movie. That was a weird transition to go from like great Mission Impossible, short hair Tom Cruise, John Voight to John Woo with Tom Cruise on motorcycles, having a very different style to it. But they learned the lesson and they came back to what they did well. And 3 through 8, it's the same movie.
Yeah.
Like he's disavowed, and then he
Well, of
saves
course.
and then he saves the world, and then in the next one he's disavowed and he saves the world, and on we go.
We need you to come back for one more mission.
I love the idea. I did read an article where they asked Tom Cruise if he would come back to do any more Mission Impossibles. And he's like, well, Harrison Ford just did another Indiana Jones. So, like, I don't know. Like, I might come back and do it. And I swear to God, dude, someone got a hold of him and said, Tom, if this is the last one, more people will go see it. So we can't be saying that it's not the last one because people might be like, I'll wait for the final reckoning. And so then he came out and was like, no, this is definitely it. And I was like, yeah, someone got a hold of him. But
He's got to be what, in his early 60s now?
dude,
Late
for
50s?
60 years old, he's 60.
Is that how old he is?
I believe he's 60 years
Wow.
old. Dude, he is amazing. Like when he starts, like you know in Mission Impossible how he like just sprints like down the
Yes.
street, and that they do like the wide shot where the camera goes out and it's just him sprinting down like an empty bridge that would normally have like 1 million people on it, but for some reason there's no one there. Like,
Right.
well, we're in London, so why would this bridge have people on it? Anyway, one of the biggest cities in the world. When he did that, dude, I swear to God, I got goosebumps. It made me so happy. Like the dopamine kick, the nostalgia in my brain
Yeah.
happened. Like I very rarely sense it. I actually could feel it coming out.
Oh my
And
God.
cycling and making me happy. I could feel the joy that it gave me. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just telling you emotionally what happened to me.
By the way, Tom Cruise on July 3rd, so what, a week and a half, he will be 63.
63, yeah.
At the museum here, they have the Auto Museum in LA, which is really cool. If you're ever in LA, make sure you check it out. They have some incredible cars there, but they have the bike from the movie where he jumped off the cliff, and then they have on the video screen that scene playing, and you see what the scene looks like in the movie, and then you see what it looks like when they shoot it. And when they shot it, he goes off this gigantic ramp off a cliff on the bike, parachuting, which is incredible that he does his own stunts like that. I mean, the man at 63, one of the biggest Hollywood stars there is jumping off cliffs on a bike, jumping off helicopters. It is really.
It's really cool.
That to me is one I will make a point to watch when it comes out on a streaming service. That's where I am with Mission.
Well, watch Final Reckoning Part 1.
Is that on? Is that streaming right
I think
now?
it's on Max.
Oh, okay. All right,
I
I'll
think
check it out. So 9 out of 10. Very impressive.
Dude, look, I don't just willy-nilly, you know me, I just willy-nilly don't hand these grades out.
No, of course not.
But after what you can't go into Mission Impossible Final Reckoning and think, oh, I'm going to watch, Citizen Kane here. Like, I'm not trying to learn. Like, sometimes, for me in films, things can just be what they are.
Yes, I agree.
Like, you don't have to make them something that they're not. Like, I have no interest in seeing the Phoenician Scheme. Like, Wes Anderson is fine. But it's not my cup of tea. Like, I don't get it. I like Michael Cera. I like Benicio del Toro. I don't, at some point I may see that movie, I guess. But what is driving me to theater to go see it? Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, explosions, dogfights in the air, Haley Atwell. She's hideous, by the way. It's so good.
The music.
Oh, dude, I will say they did a great job with the music in this film as well. Like they always do. But
Yeah.
that's a part of the
Wait,
sauce
isn't
that
it
they
just
make.
the same
No,
song
no,
over and over again?
no. They mix it up. It's kind of like
Okay.
them doing the electronic guitar of the John Williams score for Superman. Like they've
Ah,
changed it up a little bit, but it's still the same.
it
Like
gives you that dopamine hit.
it
Yeah,
give
this
exactly. And you know what I'm talking about with the
I
dopamine hit,
do.
right? Like that's a real
Absolutely.
thing.
It is appealing to that nostalgia, to what you've seen before. It look, Hollywood is obviously that's basically all they do now, right?
Yeah.
Almost all of these movies are either remakes or sequels or part of IP. And but that,
Well,
if it's
yeah.
good, that's okay.
Right. Well, it's like the Karate Kid movie that I talked about. I didn't really love that movie. I don't even think I gave it a grade. If I did, it's like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. But when they have the picture of Mr. Miyagi and Daniel's son is there, little bit, little bit of
And you know
excitement for
what?
me.
As you get older, there aren't as many things like you said that necessarily get you to that place. So
Right.
whatever it takes.
Dude, I get bored so fast with so many things now. Like I
Yeah.
used to listen to podcasts, like the podcast I used to listen to, I maybe make it 10 minutes into a podcast now. And if they don't hook me in right away, I am
Right.
out, man. Like I am out immediately. I don't know. I keep coming back to The Sopranos. I'm on the Pine Barrens episode right now, by the
Oh,
way,
that's
which
that
I think is the
classic.
best episode of Sopranos of all time.
Ah, that's such a good episode. And
Yeah.
but no one would ever say that about this podcast though, what you were saying a minute ago about
What, catching it
losing
right
interest.
away?
Yeah, losing interest after 10 minutes.
Oh, well, I hope not, given how
No.
long we yammer on. I can't imagine.
Well,
Like
I feel like you may have left it all on the table, but do
I
you have any
did.
final thoughts this week?
Well, you nailed it, buddy. I don't have any other final thoughts. I didn't express, or maybe I did appropriately, how sad I was for Tyrese Halliburton. Like, did you not feel that when it happened? Or were you
So
watching
here,
live or
I
not?
was not watching live. So for whatever reason, I'm a big NBA fan. Maybe it was the teams, maybe it was the way the series went. I didn't watch a ton of this series, and I was actually with my son at a water park on Sunday.
See,
And so
you're a
by the
good
time I
dad.
got home, I'm thank you very much. I only watched like the last 3 minutes. Part of that is the time difference. But you got to remember, like it's like 7:30 out here when the game's ending.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
still early in the evening, which, by the way, I'm not complaining about that. I love that for a lot of things. Like I never have to stay up late to watch sporting events, which is great. It's really, really one of the benefits of living in the West Coast, especially as you get older. But
I
the
guess my
downside,
my
you might.
final thought would be something that we have hit on before, but I stand by, which is the older I get, man, the less and less I care about sports. Like
Yeah, me
I
too.
used to be, dude, I could name every Steelers offensive lineman from 1993. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm.
they're backups and who the coaches were. Now I can name 10 Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just
Wow.
saying, like, I know the big ones, but and there's so much transition and people move around so much.
Yeah.
It's just like I used to feel like if the Steelers lost, I lost. And then I don't know what had happened. At some point, maybe it was after they won the Super Bowl. I think I remember telling you this. I didn't win the Super Bowl. Like I
But you,
enjoyed watching that
but you felt
journey,
like you did.
but I didn't get anything out. When Jerome Bettis fumbled the ball against the Indianapolis Colts, I think my heart stopped medically.
Oh, was that when Roethlisberger made that
The
amazing
shoestring
tackle?
tackle.
He was like falling backward and he just reached his arm
Yeah.
out and grabbed the
No,
guy's ankle.
but dude,
Oh, that
I'm
was
not kidding.
amazing.
I think it skipped a beat. If I would have been on an EKG, they would have
Right.
admitted me to the hospital.
You would have
They
been
would
like
have
my
saw
grandmother.
what happened to my heart. And
Remember
I
my
assure
grandmother?
you-
She had to leave the room
Yes,
when
yes.
the Steeler games would get exciting.
But now I don't think it has anything to do with the teams that are in these sports or whatever. I still love watching greatness. Like I loved watching like Sinner and Alcaraz. What did I do? I watched Bublik play Medvedev on grass for like that. I enjoyed like that was artistry. But I didn't care who won. Like
Yeah.
I liked watching great sports. I guess I'm not a fan anymore. Like
Like you
I
were
enjoy
before.
sports. I like watching athletes do amazing things, but like I'm not wins and losses mean nothing to me anymore. I don't know. That's all I got.
I tend to agree, and I think it's just a sign that we're
We're
getting
elderly.
old. We're
Yeah.
getting old. So we'll leave it there. For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. Thanks for being with us this week. We hope you enjoyed the show, but if not, please take no offense.